Hello, hello. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm trying to do more real-time videos, things that I am doing throughout my day and my week to give you a real life perspective of just what's going through my brain. So as you heard the oven just go off, I'm preheating the oven and I'm going to share with you some of the foods that I'm making just right in the middle of the day in between some client calls that I have. And you'll hear my dog eating her food. She only eats her food when someone else is in the kitchen. It makes her feel safe. Otherwise, if I'm in my office all day and I'm working, I'm doing other things, she doesn't eat all day. But this is very related to just feeling safe with food. It's dogs, babies, like they're so intuitive, right? They can sense when they feel like it's safe to have their food. And when we're sitting at the table eating together, she eats her food. So just another reason that there's such a safety and a comfort with eating. And if we feel threatened or stressed when we're eating, it affects digestion, it affects satisfaction with meals. There's so many variables with our nervous system in relation to eating. So let me know if this happens to you with your dog. Like my dog is not a dog that is all about food, and she'll sit at the table with us just to be at the table with us and be at eye level and involved in the conversation. Literally could care less about what's on her plate. So anyways, I just had a call with a client this morning and it was so powerful, so powerful. I love working with people on a long-term basis because the evolution that happens as you continue to practice these skills in your life in terms of nutrition and just overall wellness and lifestyle habits literally affects every single aspect of your life and what you value on a day-to-day basis as a human. So today we were talking through things and she's had some really amazing breakthroughs more recently with the things that we've been working on over time. And one of the things we talked about was that achieving things in your life in general doesn't have to feel hard. It doesn't have to always be a chore, a burden, a task, tons of effort, exhausting. And I think this is, again, it just goes back to how we were raised in our culture and our belief system that everything that we've gotten in our lives, we had to work hard for. We see this with money has to be hard. Planning healthy meals has to be hard. Exercise and working out has to be hard. Everything has to be hard that's of value. Let me know if this is something that you feel in your life, because I certainly have felt this way and something that I continue to work through. But I think it's so important to recognize these things don't have to be hard. They actually can be very intuitive, effortless, easy. Shall I say easy, that makes sense for you. And what do I mean by that? So we were talking this morning and she's like, I'm buying the same amount of food, I'm creating meals, and it's not feeling hard. I'm not really planning. And she was almost talking about it as if she was doing something wrong. But what was happening is that with all of the work that we've been doing with learning how meal planning and preparing meals and putting meals together makes sense for her, her preferences, her lifestyle, her values, who she's preparing meals for, what makes sense for her life, because we've been experimenting with that, she's found a rhythm that works for her. And it doesn't look the same every week, and that's okay. And it almost feels wrong when it doesn't feel hard anymore. But this is exactly the goal, right? Is that we have created a process in our lives that flows like a current of water. It flows with the tide versus going against the tide and having that resistance all the time. Is it's so hard, but it does not have to be. This is related to exercise, activity. It doesn't have to be hard. Going for a walk is just as impactful, if not more impactful, for moving your body and putting less stress on your nervous system. It's just a huge mindset shift of how we perceive these things in our lives. So anyways, that was just like a really powerful conversation and shift of thinking that was really helpful. And hopefully that can be something that you can use in your life and your perception of how nutrition and wellness looks for you. So I'd love to hear any things that have been helpful for you. So I'm just going through, I've been planning some stuff throughout the week, but it's Thursday, running out of options, running low on a lot of things. So what I do is I look at my refrigerator and I say, okay, I like to have a couple starches cooked off and ready to go, a couple proteins and some veggies. I'm low. I think I just have rice in there, which I've used for many meals, and I need something new to rotate in there. I do have English muffins and bread, but I wanted like another starch, like a pasta potato. I went through my sweet potatoes this week. So I pulled out some pasta that I just boiled. This is the protein pasta, which I love to make because it has 10 grams of protein in one serving and 5 grams of fiber, which is amazing. And this one I like because it doesn't have, I think the texture and the color is very similar to regular pasta. I just actually cooked it. So it looks just the same, right, as a regular pasta. This is the macaroni. And what I will say about these types of pasta that are plant-based, the first ingredient is wheat flour. So it does have the semolina flour, durum wheat flour, and then it's lentil, pea protein, chickpea, barley, and spelt. So there's other plant sources of protein added. The cooking time on this is very short. So once the water's boiled, add your salt, 5 minutes. What I often hear people say is it can get like that gritty texture, and that's usually because you're overcooking it. So that is what I will say about the cooking process for this. 5 minutes, take it out, strain it, done, to keep it a better consistency. So I just made some of that, and then I have some salmon that I also need to make. This is coho salmon. And when it comes to fish, I really look at what looks good. Like when I'm looking at salmon, you can tell the difference when there's a color of the fish that's almost like white and it's like a very light pink versus a fish that's like a really deep fruit juice color, almost like that really, really deep color. And this fish, when I was at the store looking at it, it looked really good in terms of the color. So I'm like, okay, this looks like a good option. And so what I will typically do is you're buying the fish as a slab, right? I will usually, you don't have to do this. You could definitely cook it all at once, but I will usually cut it first before baking it. So I just preheat the oven to 425. And then I'm taking the plastic here. Okay, so let me see if I can adjust this a little bit so you can see both. Perfect. Okay, so here we see, like, look at this nice pink. I don't know if you can see that, but it's this like really, really nice pink grapefruit almost color. So from here, I'm gonna portion this into like 2 portions. And they're actually pretty big before I bake it, because I like to have, sometimes when you cook it and it's just like the one big piece of fish, you know, when you take it apart, it's kind of messy. So I like to just put it into like you can cut it smaller than that, but that's probably about 4 to 5 ounces, maybe more. I don't know. So I'm putting it right on the cutting board here, or off the cutting board onto the sheet pan. I love these silk pads, just so you don't have to grease the tray, but that's the salmon ready to go. I don't put oil on salmon because there's so much of a fat content in salmon that you really don't need the oil when it cooks, because there's so much oil naturally coming from the salmon. Okay. I have soap under the counter. I need to go. I'll wash my hands again. Okay, so now in terms of seasoning it, you can go so many different ways. We have this jar of salt that we use. It's like a coarse kosher salt. And my husband likes this because you can really like feel the grain in your hand when you're using it. But I use like a little here, and I'll just, salt the fish. This is going to help to bring out the flavor. You can keep this so simple. You can do salt and pepper and keep it simple. Like whatever kind of herbs and seasonings you like, use. I just pulled out, I kind of mix it up. Sometimes they'll do more of like a chili powder, cumin combination. But this is a Hinders is the brand here. And I like a lot of their blends. This is right from the grocery store. This is called Buttery Steakhouse, and the ingredients are salt, onion, garlic, bell pepper, parsley, and then like a little butter flavor, natural turmeric. So this is just like a little bit of a buttery flavor that I think will be nice with the salmon. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this right on. And sometimes I will put some veggies on here. Actually, I do have broccoli that I might cut up here and put on. What you can do when you're cooking fish and a vegetable is put the protein on one side, the veggie on the other. I'll often like do this as I'm going through things. I'm like, oh, I have broccoli that I could throw in here. So broccoli, I need to get a different cutting board. Typically I do cut the vegetable first on the cutting board and then cut the protein so you're not cross-contaminating. So what I think I'm gonna do is cut the broccoli up here with a new cutting board. Nice. So I'm gonna cut the broccoli, put the broccoli on one side of the pan, fish on the other side of the pan. The oven's at 425. The fish is probably gonna take about 8 minutes. I'd use a food meat thermometer. So you just, turn one of these on, stick it in the fish, and you want fish to be 135 is what's recommended. I honestly take it out a lot lower. I do like 120 and let it sit for a little bit. I like it a little bit more on the undercooked side, personal preference. But I know from like a food safety standpoint, that's the recommendation. So I do recommend using a food thermometer though for temperatures with any kind of meat sources, fish, beef, chicken, all those things. And that's just going to help to give you a more consistent product with moisture and quality of food. So that's something that a staple you want to have in your kitchen. So the broccoli, I'm going to cut this up, put a little oil. I probably could use the same seasoning right on the broccoli. The broccoli will take longer than the fish. So I'll probably take the fish off the tray and then keep the broccoli roasting for a little bit and done. I have some other options prepped. I could absolutely combine these foods together for a meal. It is just before noon, so I could have this for lunch. I could have it for dinner. So many options, but I would just like to do a midweek, end of week regroup of just a couple foods, whether that's a carb, veggies, protein to have ready for the week. So that is what I'm doing now. So again, I'm just trying to show you like real-time stuff as I go through things. Let me know if this is helpful for you. I was getting a lot of great feedback from some of the sequential videos I've been doing of going to the grocery store, thinking through meal options, putting together meal options, and then what does that look like down the road, middle of the week in real life. So let me know if this is helpful for you guys, and I will try to definitely do more of this. All right, I will see you next time.